There are a couple of heroes in Marvel Rivals who I know absolutely nothing about, and Elsa Bloodstone is definitely one of them. I do recall in one of my ranked matches some people calling Elsa British, and I have a feeling that that is not correct. I could be wrong, of course, but I decided I should get the information from the source. But as always, before we get into this reaction, please make sure to go support Sir Superhero. A link to do so will be at the very top of the description. Like always, my dudes.
The Marvel Universe is full of danger around every turn. In all corners of the globe, there are any number of villains plotting ways that they can destroy and conquer and subjugate. But thankfully, there are always enough heroes around to foil their various schemes. But sometimes it isn't that complicated. On occasion, there is no evil mastermind or any sort of complex plan. Sometimes the danger in question is a big monster. And the solution to that big monster is to shoot it in the face. This is when you call Elsa Bloodstone.
That's fair.
Elsa Bloodstone is a very simple character at a foundational level. She is a monster hunter. She doesn't have a headquarters or a million gadgets or even a superhero costume, really. She has a lot of guns and a lot of training and a little bit of magic.
So, well, she has a little bit of magic apparently, but is she like doing work as a quote-unquote superhero? I guess not in the usual sense is what Sir Superhero is trying to get at here. She's just more of a gun for hire if something needs to get exterminated, I suppose. But from playing her in the game, we do know that there's a little bit of magic due to the fact that she can drop a trap that apparently summons a demon that traps people. Like, yeah, that makes sense.
And that is all she needs to get the job done. Of course, nothing in comic books is ever that simple, not on the level of deep diving that I do for this channel. I always manage to dig up something weird, and believe me, I checked that box today. But the weirdness is not the reason I have chosen this specific topic to release today. No, as I'm sure many of you have already guessed, the reason I'm talking about Elsa Bloodstone right now is that she is, as of today, the newest character added to the roster of Marvel Rivals. That means that a lot of people are going to be going to YouTube wanting to find out what her whole deal is. So if you're a Marvel Rivals player looking for context on the new character, a comic book fan wanting to find something new to read, or you already know who Elsa is and you know the levels of chaos I'm going to be getting into, let's just go ahead and begin. Without further ado, let's talk about Marvel's monster hunter, Elsa Bloodstone. Though, I guess one tiny bit of further ado, because before we can talk about Elsa specifically, we need to spend a little bit of time on her father, Ulysses Bloodstone. Ulysses has appeared in far fewer comics than Elsa has, but he is the one who began the Bloodstone monster hunting legacy, and he'll be relevant later, so he deserves a couple of minutes.
Interesting. I forget which character it is, but I do recall her father's name because of a conversation that she has with another character. It might be White Fox, but I could be wrong.
The Elder Bloodstone is an old character in more ways than one. First off, his origin story comic was released in 1975, so he's decently old in publication terms, and in terms of in-universe stuff, well, canonically, Ulysses Bloodstone was born over 10,000 years ago.
Wait, what?
His history is relatively straightforward. Before taking on the name Ulysses Bloodstone, he was a primitive hunter in Scandinavia around the year 8000 BC. One day, a meteor crashed to the ground near his tribe, and he went to investigate. This meteor was actually a magical crystal called the Blood Gem, which was made by elder gods from another dimension who then sent the gem to Earth so that it would terraform reality into a twisted hellscape that the gods could then conquer and populate. And all
what the fuck? It's still not over, too. So we're like, okay, this is the setup, and then it all goes downhill from here. Although we've seen enough Sir Superhero videos to kind of expect this now at this point.
And also, the gem contained a monster named Hellfire Helix, and Hellfire Helix summons an arcane force called the Exomind, and then the Exomind gets another magical monster servant called Ulixil Quantasin, and Ulixil lures the human hunter who found the meteor into his underground citadel and offers to give him magical powers using the blood gem if he helps subjugate humanity, but the hunter refuses and instead shatters the gem, which explodes and sends magic shards all over the planet, and one of them gets embedded in the hunter's chest, and that's what the red crystal on Ulysses is. So a second ago, when I said his history was relatively straightforward, I was lying. Yeah,
Yeah, Yeah. I'm used to a superhero lying to me.
The history of Ulysses Bloodstone is batshit insane, and all of that I just bombarded you with takes place over like 2 or 3 comics, so the speed was accurate. Good news,
goddamn,
none of it really matters at all. The only part that you actually have to process is that Ulysses Bloodstone was a primitive hunter who got a bit of a magic crystal embedded in his chest, and that's kinda it. This crystal, which would go on to be called both the Bloodstone and the Blood Gem, the two names are kind of used interchangeably, increased the physical capabilities of the hunter and also stopped his aging. So he dedicated his new power and long life to hunting monsters like the ones he had already encountered. At some point along the way, he took on the name Ulysses Bloodstone, integrated himself more into modern society, and closer to the present, had a daughter named Elsa. Elsa's first appearance was in a self-titled miniseries simply called Bloodstone that released in 2001.
I don't know about you guys, but the cover of this is pretty interesting. Huh. We were built different back then, weren't we? I guess we still kind of are.
The concept for Bloodstone is very straightforward, but also kind of difficult to describe for reasons that will become apparent later. See, in Ulysses' last appearance, he had actually died after all those thousands of years. The Bloodstone chunk was removed from his chest, and when that happened, his body reverted to its natural age, which was pretty much just dust. Bloodstone Issue 1 follows directly up on Ulysses' death, opening on Elsa and her mother flying to his estate. We don't learn too much about Elsa's mom here, but we do learn enough about the Bloodstone family dynamic. Elsa's parents had apparently split up when she was pretty young, so she was raised not really knowing her father and not knowing about his profession.
Yeah, from that conversation that she has in Rivals, I believe she talks about how he's a great hunter, not so much a father, so that makes sense.
Her mom, though, did know about all the monster hunting and wanted to keep Elsa very far away from it, which of course was not going to happen. As Elsa is exploring Bloodstone Manor, she accidentally runs into the area's caretaker, who is—
Wait, what? She says you weren't like Batman, were you? We can just say that?
Like a Frankenstein's monster guy.
Quite literally.
He might actually be Frankenstein's monster. He goes by the name Adam in this book, but this is clearly an alias and his origins are never fully explained. Adam used to help out Ulysses with his monster hunting endeavors and is very excited to get to pass that down to the next generation. So he bestows Elsa with 2 items. First off, a magical choker that contains another chunk of Bloodstone, which provides Elsa with powers similar to her father's, and secondly, a magic genie lamp which can instantly teleport her to any monster-based danger. This is pretty much all you need to know for the remainder of the Bloodstone comic. Elsa has powers, she has her sort of mentor figure in Adam, and the genie lamp lights up whenever a monster is threatening people somewhere out in the world.
It does seem like we're taking a lot of classic literature ideas and then mixing them up into something new, which, you know, is a cool adaptation.
So then Elsa just wishes on the lamp, goes there, fights the monster, and is teleported back to Bloodstone Manor. Like I said, very straightforward concept, but I do enjoy it. The best way that I can describe the original Bloodstone comic is that it has a lot of Saturday morning cartoon energy to it. You have a cool teen girl protagonist who just got superpowers, fighting literal monster of the week villains, all while trying to keep those adventures secret from her mom, who does not want her daughter going on the same path as her father. It is simple, but it is fun. It is by no means a perfect book. The artist really likes drawing this.
Yeah. I noticed. While the comic does confirm that Elsa is 18, so there's nothing illegal going on, the artists seem to take that as a license to draw her in very creepy ways. I bet a lot of money that many of Elsa's poses in Bloodstone are traced from adult media, let's call it. I'm obviously not showing you the worst of it on YouTube, but it gets really bad. I feel like there's a bit of a pattern with a lot of superhero characters where the artist fetish is kind of put on display. We already went through the whole Psylocke debacle, and that was a doozy. I'm going to assume, though, that the character goes in a different direction much later on in the future. At least one would hope that not every single artist that has handled her story has done something like this.
This teen girl in ways that teen girls probably should not be drawn, but aside from that, I do like it. The comic was really self-contained, it only ran for 4 issues and was barely connected to any other Marvel things, with the only other Marvel characters appearing being classic monsters like Dracula and the Living Mummy. Decent and enjoyable as the book was, it didn't go anywhere, and Elsa as a character would not be seen for another 5 years. And then in 2006, this is where things are going to go extremely off the rails. I didn't talk much about Elsa's personality in Bloodstone because there wasn't much of a need to. If you have in your brain superpowered teen girl from an early 2000s Saturday morning cartoon, yeah, she was pretty much exactly the type of character that you're thinking of. But in her next appearance, she would look and act very different. This would be in a comic called Next Wave. And oh god, how do I even begin to describe?
Considering the subtitle of Agents of Hate, I feel like we're going a little bit edgy with this one. That being said, you know, her fit and whatnot kind of reminds me a lot of Tomb Raider. Maybe they tried to channel a bit of that energy, if that was around at the time. Pretty sure. But maybe not so much the personality. I'm just kind of giving it as the perspective of somebody who's casual on both franchises. Like, I don't know anything about Tomb Raider either. That's something we're gonna have to learn about someday.
Maybe I just begin by showing you all the cover of Next Wave Issue 1. Next Wave, full title, Next Wave Agents of Hate, hate being an acronym, has this very iconic cover to it, and the tagline under the group shot of the heroes reads, "Healing America by beating people up." And that's just going to set the tone for everything going forward. HATE in this book stands for Highest Anti-Terrorism Effort, a SHIELD-like organization, though one that is smaller and less effective. Next Wave is a team of 5 superhumans who operate as HATE's best strike squad. The roster is a mix of characters you've probably heard of and some you probably haven't, being from right to left, Elsa Bloodstone, Machine Man, Monica Rambeau, Boom Boom, and the Captain.
I haven't heard of a single one of these guys, not gonna lie.
Just the Captain. I'll be addressing his name briefly later. The plot, in air quotes, of Next Wave is that in issue 1, the team discovers that Hate, unsurprisingly based on the name, is actually evil, and are all in the pocket of a worse organization called the Beyond Corporation. Then the rest of the book is just Next Wave fighting off the evil plans of Hate and the Beyond Corporation, which vary wildly in range and tone. The reason I put plot in air quotes there is that Next Wave can best be described as less of a storyline and more 10 billion bits that have been roughly smushed into the form of a comic book series. It is not a bad book. It can be very enjoyable if you know what you're getting into.
So what is ZOMG? Like OMG, but with a Z in front? Is this millennial speak? For those of you who don't know, we're currently playing through Persona 3 Reload here on the channel. We stream it every Saturday. But there is a specific social link there where you speak with somebody while playing an MMO, and they use a lot of that sort of online language at the time, the internet slang at the time. And I would not know what they're saying unless if we had some millennial translators in the chat helping us out. Now, technically speaking, I think I fall under the Zoomer category, but I don't know any of the slang anybody else uses, and I don't really enjoy using any of them. So maybe I'm just out of the loop. I can't even call myself old-fashioned because I don't even know the previous generation slang.
It is just patently insane. As one of my friends very well put it, if the original Bloodstone had a lot of Saturday morning cartoon energy, Next Wave also has cartoon energy, just definitely not one that airs on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into all the details.
Contributing more to the Adult Swim cartoon vibe, Next Wave has an official-ish theme song, written and performed by Matt Lowe, I think I pronounced his name correctly, who is the brother of Next Wave's editor, Nick Lowe. I didn't include it in this video because I'm not sure of the copyright status, and being Disney adjacent, I didn't want to risk it. But you can find it very easily, just Google Next Wave theme song and it'll come up. Roger that, I might check that out after the video. And yeah, as a fellow YouTuber, just don't mess with the copyright. it's a mess.
Of Next Wave in this video as much as I'm sure some of you want me to, because A, this is a video about Elsa Bloodstone specifically, and B, I do not want this video getting demonetized. Fortunately, for context on Elsa's storyline, all you really need to know about Next Wave is the tone that it took, and so enjoy this montage of just a scattering of some of Next Wave's bits. Monica Rambeau kills a puppy. Fin Fang Foom puts someone into his pants. Skateboarding mindless.
I do know of Fin Fang Foom. Apparently people have been bringing it up because it makes Serby laugh every single time the name is said. I think during the conversations we had in Discord, there's some sort of alien or something like that. I don't know much more outside of it.
Ones. West Side Story mindless ones. Giant anime robot with a realistic gun. The captain's real superhero codename is Captain The villain's minions are made of broccoli. A celestial calls Machine Man a piece of shit. Death koalas. Homicide crabs. Off-brand Dormammu in a gas station bathroom.
That is off-brand
A villain
Dormammu.
team called The Homosexuality. 12 consecutive pages of fight montage with no dialogue.
Oh my
and
goodness.
Devil Dinosaur is the final twist villain. Also, Baby MODOK is a thing. There's a Baby
the hell
MODOK
is
in
happening?
this. And there's a whole scene that confirms Captain America's pee has traces of super soldier serum in it, but then that literally never matters again in the rest of the comic. And also, there's... Sorry, what was I doing again?
No, not the bear. But is this like the equivalent of The Boys, but for Marvel? Actually, is The Boys Marvel? I don't know. I haven't seen the show, but I have heard that it's sort of like an edgier take on superheroes. Parody? I think parody is the right word. I also heard people didn't really enjoy the ending. So there's that.
Oh, Elsa Bloodstone video. Right, let's get back to that. Okay, so with that done, and keep in mind, that was without jokes that I had to cut for content rating, we all should have a better idea of what Next Wave was like. And in addition to it being a non-stop barrage of varying quality jokes, it also had a very weird relationship with Marvel canon, which is that it didn't really have a relationship with Marvel canon at all.
Yeah.
The core roster of Next
Makes
Wave
sense.
was not made of new characters. The only one to debut in this comic was the Captain, and all the others had years to decades of their own history. Yet, Next Wave really never cared about what they were previously, portraying some of the characters as parodies of themselves, and portraying Elsa as just a 100% separate thing. You might have picked up already that Elsa Bloodstone looks completely different in the pages of Next Wave.
Yeah.
Or maybe more accurately, she looked completely different in the original Bloodstone series. This way that she's portrayed in this comic is how she's looked going forward. But it doesn't appear to be the same character from the previous series at all, at least not visually.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Considering its position within the Marvel canon, which I'm assuming it's not canon, but maybe people just, or artists who took up Elsa's character later on, enjoyed this look and tried to adapt it into their own thing.
No explanation is given for her design shift. She is still Elsa Bloodstone, still a monster hunter, and still the daughter of
Yeah, what
Ulysses
happened
Bloodstone.
in between?
And actually, those are pretty much the only things that remain the same about her character. Elsa has a backstory flashback in Next Wave, and it is entirely different to how the previous book portrayed it. As established in this comic, she was actively trained by her father to carry on the legacy, and was trained from a very young age.
Yeah, as a baby. But also, yeah, that completely goes against the canon of the original one, where she didn't really know about her father's thing. I wonder if this is just a choice by the author of this comic, or if it's a choice from Marvel as a whole.
Like, Ulysses would literally throw her into pits when she was a baby to do battle with gigantic monsters. Throwing even more confusion onto this pile, even in the flashbacks to her childhood, Elsa is very distinctly a redhead, which is completely different than the blonde that she had in Bloodstone. As will be a pattern, this is never explained. Next Wave just took Elsa, called her Elsa, and made her someone entirely different. Of course, we are dealing with superhero comics, and especially superhero comics that are weird, kind of disconnected parody, so there's an easy explanation for this. Is Next Wave just an alternate universe? I mean, if everybody's different and it takes a distinctly more comedic and more adult tone, it could be dismissed as an AU. That's complicated. That's complicated. We are going to be coming back to that once again. But for now, no. For now, Next Wave...
Some at Marvel claim otherwise, but the official Marvel handbooks call it canon, and so I'm gonna trust books over unofficial comments. So wait a minute. That is actually canon now? So does that mean the original story is not canon anymore? What was happening in the background here for all this to go down?
It was not intended to be an alternate universe story. This was in the main Marvel universe as far as people knew at the time, and everyone was just different because of no reason that was ever shown. Yeah. Unsurprisingly, due to its controversial tone and jokes...
Next Wave remains very much a love it or hate it kind of series. Those who liked it really liked it, and those who didn't ignored it entirely. And that's fair. That's kind of where you're going to land if you're going to go with bits like this. And with characters that some people may have enjoyed their original portrayal much more than whatever this was supposed to be. I personally don't mind it as much if this is some sort of side thing, but with this being canonical now, it kind of puts a different lens on it. That if it was like a character that I personally enjoyed previously and then they portrayed them like this, I probably wouldn't like it either. At least to me, it feels like there's a small subsection of the media world that creates adaptations like this with this kind of humor that will always be divisive among fans. Like the one that I can think of immediately is that Scooby-Doo cartoon. I forget its exact name. The one that kind of, butchered the series, and a lot of people really didn't like it for its portrayal of certain things within the show. I'm trying to tread around it because, well, quite frankly, I didn't watch it myself, but with how much people hated it, I felt like it would probably just be a waste of time. But to me, it's like, why? Why would you go and do that? If you wanted to do that, you can. Just make your own series. Don't take something that was originally a kid's cartoon and then turn it into that.
And also its a more controversial approach to canon, Next Wave was met with mixed reviews by comic book readers. However, one part of the comic that was not met with mixed reviews and was generally liked was the character of Elsa Bloodstone. Okay. Next Wave brings us the personality that we see in later media. This new Elsa is 10 times more badass. They have completely abandoned her characterization as a kind of stock Saturday morning cartoon teen girl action hero. And now, she has a billion guns, and she's perpetually annoyed, and she's way more British than she was, and also she curses like a sailor, and everyone loved her.
Okay, well there you go. She is actually British. Honestly, genuinely, considering her whole personality and very outback feel, I thought that she was Australian, not gonna lie. But hey, that's why we do these videos, to learn more about the characters.
This new Elsa was so popular that she just kinda stuck around. When Next Wave ended, the other characters who had been turned into parodies were more or less returned to their older status quos, but not Elsa. She just remained like this, and this is the iteration of her character that we will see going forward. Does this cast a lot of confusion onto which backstory is real, given that both comics are supposedly canon? Yes, but that's largely
So, it's still canon, but we're just going to ignore it for now, I guess? I mean, it's not like there haven't been situations like this where we just kind of go with the flow and new stories pop up that are considered canon but kind of contradict previous information. Look at the Ghost Rider story, for one thing. But at the end of the day, as long as the story is fun and the characters are cool, I think people are probably going to be fine with it. It explains why Elsa looks the way that she does in Marvel Rivals, and the first skin that she had was blonde, probably a reference to that original comic that she had.
I'm going to be addressing for the rest of this video. Now, for my usual video structure, this would be the point after I've talked about the character's origin, or in Elsa's case, origins, where I do a breakdown of the character's abilities and powers. However, Elsa has another point in her timeline which throws a lot of confusion onto that, so we're just going to continue down her chronology for now, which is relatively straightforward. And this time, I'm not lying about that, it actually will be, I promise. After
Okay.
Next Wave just kind of waved its magical little hand and turned Elsa into a different character that people liked more, she remained
Punisher?
in the Marvel Universe as a monster hunter. I promised this pretty clearly in the intro, but Elsa is not complicated at a conceptual level. She will appear most frequently when other characters are fighting monsters and need some sort of help or assistance in that pursuit. Elsa's next major appearance would be in the miniseries Legion of Monsters, which focused on a team of Marvel's classic monster-style characters, most importantly in this case, Jack Russell, the Werewolf by Night, and Morbius. This comic was about the monstrous heroes trying to establish Monster Metropolis, which was a network of tunnels underneath New York City that, as the name implies, housed a civilization of monsters.
Why is it always New York, man? The people in New York cannot be okay. The land value has to be dirt cheap in the Marvel Universe by now.
Importantly to note going forward, not everything that we would consider a monster in the Marvel Universe is evil. Several of them are sentient creatures that don't want to cause people any harm, but are often attacked because, well, they look like big scary monsters.
Yeah.
The hope of Morbius and Jack and the others was that Monster Metropolis would be a safe place for these benign and often helpful monstrous beings. And then of course Elsa got involved in that and had some disagreements. She ends up teaming up with the heroes, though somewhat reluctantly, to uncover the source of a demonic virus which is infecting the good monsters and turning them evil. Her inclusion here shouldn't need a lot of explanation. The whole bit was that there was a team of monster heroes and there was a monster hunter on the roster, just to add an interesting bit of contrast. Her next several appearances keep up the pattern. Elsa teams up with Wolverine, she briefly joins the Defenders, she helps out the Avengers, all under the same general circumstances. If there is a monster that needs shooting, Elsa will probably appear. She is never a protagonist and doesn't get a lot of personal character development, but she is a distinct and fun enough character that audiences usually like it when she shows up for a couple of issues. This was the simple but effective status quo that Elsa Bloodstone held until 2015 in, of all things, the Secret Wars event.
What?
Specifically, the Secret Wars
Oh.
Marvel Zombies miniseries.
Okay.
Now, I do briefly need
Looking
to go
pretty
into
cool there.
how the Secret Wars crossover worked as context for anyone who might not know, but I will keep it from becoming a whole tangent. The multiverse gets destroyed. Doctor Doom, though, is able to save tiny chunks of it from different realities and squishes them all together into one big planet called Battleworld. On Battleworld, the different realities preserve their core elements. 2099 is still cyberpunk, the Monarchy of M from the House of M event is still ruled by mutants, etc., but all of them occupy the same space and basically function like different nations do in the real world, interacting with each other and having diplomatic relations.
Oh yeah, there you go. On the left side here, Monster Metropolis, below Manhattan, Earth 616. Also specifically listed there.
This means that there are different variants of the same people on this one planet, which creates some interesting situations, but situations that everyone here kind of just dismisses. They dismiss it so easily because they do not remember their previous existence. When Doom smushed this planet together, he made himself God Emperor and essentially brainwashed everybody so that they didn't remember existence previously. Now, at the bottom of Battleworld, there are a couple regions separated from the others by a massive structure known as the Shield. These areas below the Shield are the bad universes, things where Ultron took over, for example, and now the area is full of drones that cannot be allowed to spread. As you might be able to guess, one of these regions is the Marvel Zombies world.
Gotcha.
The Zombies Battleworld miniseries focuses on this region through the eyes of Elsa Bloodstone, who in the mixed-up Battleworld reality is a commander of the Wall's defenses. In issue 1, she gets into a fight with a zombified Azazel, and he teleports her during the combat way out into the Deadlands, where she has to fight her way back. This book is very good, and it's significant because it is the first book since 2001 where Elsa is the protagonist. Sure, it's not titled Bloodstone, but she is undeniably the main character. Here's the thing though, those of you who know how Secret Wars works might be a little bit confused as to why I'm bringing it up and giving it so much attention, because it doesn't typically matter to canon.
Yeah.
As I've mentioned already, everyone on Battleworld had different histories and memories because they were overwritten by Doom. And more importantly, after Battleworld was undone and the multiverse was restored back to its original state, or at least close to it, most of the things in Battleworld did not carry over. No characters from Battleworld remember the events there, save for a couple select few who were right at the center of it. To the general public of the Marvel Universe, and even most heroes and villains, this never happened. There is no evidence of it whatsoever. But Elsa is a weird exception. See, Marvel Zombies Battleworld is very much a character study for Elsa Bloodstone, sort of filling in the gaps in her history of the next wave version of the character. The series has a lot of flashbacks to Elsa's childhood, and through these, we get a really good picture of why she is the way she is now. In this version of her history, Elsa was still trained by her father and still thrown into the deep end of monster hunting by him at a very young age.
Actually, now that I think about it, this is kind of the perfect time to restructure a character's backstory and take this image that people enjoy of her and make it make sense with the plot. Have a convincing, believable backstory.
But rather than kind of making a joke out of this, like Next Wave did, Marvel Zombies portrays it as very serious and very dark. Ulysses in this era is shown as a man solely dedicated to his monster hunting, viewing it as his singular purpose. And Elsa is going to be raised to continue that purpose once Ulysses is gone, whether she wants to be or not. We see an extremely young Elsa forced to fight hordes of monsters on her own, sometimes getting gravely wounded, which her father doesn't seem to care about. We see her dragged along on Ulysses' expeditions at great danger to herself. Ulysses purely sees his daughter as an extension of his own will, and on the rare occasions that Elsa has the power to stand up to him, well, he does view that as a positive, but not in a healthy way. There is a very powerful scene where after Ulysses has been yelling at Elsa out in the freezing snow, she finally musters the courage to whisper, "I hate you" at him, and Ulysses' response is, "That's the first impressive thing you've said all day, now move." This comic even provides an explanation for why Elsa's hair color changed originally. Granted, the timelines don't perfectly match up, so it doesn't answer every question, but whatever, it is more context than we had, and even something as simple as a change of hair is wildly sad. According to this, Elsa's hair was naturally blonde when she was a kid, but during one of Ulysses' training exercises, she took too long to kill a monster and did it in a way that was too messy for her father's liking. Over the course of the fight, she got this monster's cursed blood all over her head and scalp, and Ulysses says, quote, "You took 10 seconds too long and have Klipoth blood in your hair. Not a promising first kill, Elsa. You will not wash nor shave until it has infected your scalp.
What the fuck?
You will wear its color as a badge of your inadequacy, and you will lie to your mother about how you got it." So that's why Elsa's hair is red now. Her scalp...
Oh my god, and that's going to be like a reminder of her failure, quote unquote, and from her father's perspective, for the rest of her life. Oh my god. But this is something that I've always been impressed by when it comes to Marvel, where a lot of the times you'll have just a cool idea that doesn't necessarily form together, and then later on somebody will come with a reasonable explanation as to why things are the way that they are, and they're somehow able to make it really interesting. Because on the surface, you could say this is just an explanation to why her hair color changed, but we're also using this as a moment to define her character and why she is the way that she is. Seeing an author kill two birds with one stone like this just feels very satisfying.
Was permanently dyed by monster blood, and her father intentionally let that fester so she would have a reminder of her inadequacies. And this arc isn't even over. Young Elsa did go to her mom about it because the stuff was literally burning her, and when her mom found out what was going on, she confronted Ulysses about it, which led Ulysses Bloodstone to infect his wife with brain-eating magical
What?
parasites so that he could frame her for being insane and abusive and get her arrested so that she wouldn't interrupt Elsa's training.
This fucker!
Holy shit! So now, after a decade and a half of being largely a stock monster...
Yeah, no, not the greatest father out there, kind of, putting it lightly, isn't it? The poor mom, man. She didn't do anything wrong, legitimately. She was just trying to be a good mother to her daughter. It's like, come on, man.
Elsa Bloodstone has a real backstory, and her personality becomes a lot more compelling. The reason that adult Elsa is so gruff and abrasive and doesn't play well with others is because she was very traumatized by her awful bastard of a father. But the thing that complicates matters is that she kind of knows his purpose was good at its foundation. Ulysses was horrible, but he was hunting monsters and he was saving people by doing that.
That's always an interesting moral question, I guess. You'll see this in a lot of people who have found a ton of success in whatever field that they pursue. And you'll find that oftentimes there is a past of trauma there, but without that other potential person in their life pushing them way past their limits, maybe they would not have become the person that they are today. And perhaps the world would be a worse place if that were the case. So while it's hard to agree with the method, there is a question of whether or not that was for the best. But of course, we're probably thinking of the success cases right now, and I'm sure the majority are likely not. And personally, I have seen these kind of things end up creating a very broken adult human being who does not really fit into society very well. Hopefully you guys have not had to experience anything like that. But for somebody like me, or maybe for some of you watching here who've grown up playing sports competitively, you'll probably be able to think of a few friends who had some very harsh parents, let's say. Like, I remember as a kid seeing one of my friends getting taken behind a bathroom and getting slapped for missing the green on the final hole, so they ended up losing the lead. And then there was always the constant, you should be more like this other kid who is doing better than you, creating a lot of hate between people who were just supposedly here to compete for fun. And this was during like a kids tournament where there's no money on the line. I guess that's just how some people are.
And even though she didn't really want to, Elsa has now been molded into another person who is capable of that skill. So she keeps doing it. She keeps fighting monsters because that's what she's good at and that is how she can help people. But obviously that carries a lot of baggage with it given her history. Like I said, she has suddenly been made very interesting. Now, rewind just a minute, because I did also say that this was happening during the Secret Wars event, at which time canon was completely optional. Anything new from this event could be written off going forward as some manipulation by Doom or a side effect of the reality warping. But thank God, writers at Marvel going forward acknowledged that this origin for Elsa is objectively the best one she's ever had. And so, as far as I can tell, her history presented in Secret Wars has been accepted as her canon one going forward in the main universe. So now, like 25 minutes into the video, we finally have Elsa's real origin. The first Bloodstone comic from 2001 has kind of just been entirely dismissed without really acknowledging it, and the basis of the character that was written in Next Wave has been taken and developed and turned into something that actually works as a protagonist going forward. That is great. We have a good status for
Bloodstone Manor and Adam are actually recanonized just recently. They're not major, but they do still exist in some form. I wonder how they tie into that whole plot. Although they are kind of side things that you can tack on to the major like backstory. So it's probably not too difficult to do that.
Elsa. Unfortunately, we now reach a big mystery, one of the larger mysteries I have run into on this channel. It's actually a two-part problem, and I've had to do more research on this specific issue than a lot of other things I've covered. Ultimately, I think the next part of Elsa Bloodstone's history is a real, legitimate continuity error that has just never been officially addressed.
Okay.
But I'm going to do my best to make heads or tails of it. Up until this point, Elsa's powers have come primarily from her chunk of the Bloodstone. Sometimes the comic will say that she has powers just from being Ulysses' daughter and that the magic has passed down genetically, but usually it's because of that little red crystal that she wears around her neck. She took this Bloodstone from her father when he lost his powers and crumbled to dust, kind of like in the original canon, and it gives her the same abilities. These powers are mostly generic: increased strength, speed, durability, etc. Honestly, they are less active superpowers and more the comic's plot device hand-wavy explanation for how she can keep up with other superhumans and giant monsters. Oh, also, it does function as a protective spell against monster-based infection or corruption. Elsa cannot be turned into a zombie, she's immune to vampire bites. In some cases, if a vampire bites her, their own vampirism would be cured. It's not relevant a lot of the time, but it is worth mentioning.
It's kind of an important asset to have if you're fighting all these monsters who could potentially infect you.
This is still where her powers come from in the Marvel Zombies book. Even in the Battle World shifted canon, she is still wearing the Bloodstone around her neck. You can see it very clearly. But who is she fighting in this page? Well, that is a Bloodstone-powered zombie version of her father.
Oh.
Remember how I said in Battle World there would be different variants of the same character running around on the same planet? I didn't bring that up for no reason. It is very important in this book that because of the universe convergence, there are multiple Bloodstones around.
Yeah.
And this zombie Ulysses has been collecting all of them and amassing them into something that he can use to keep himself alive. In the final confrontation between these monster hunters, Elsa's zombie dad steals her Bloodstone, adding it to his collection, and then bites off Elsa's right hand. This leaves her completely vulnerable to the zombie infection going around, and she begins to turn. All is not lost, though, thanks to the intervention of a child version of Elsa, also around for this comic, who shoots Ulysses and dislodges some of his Bloodstones. Elsa is able to collect a bunch of these before she's too far gone, and using her connection to the stones, molds them into a Bloodstone hand, which she then channels magic through to cure the zombie Ulysses and try to bring him back to normal.
I'm assuming this Bloodstone hand does not remain.
This is the end of the book. She cures her father instead of killing him, not choosing to continue his cycle of violence, and then they walk off into the wilderness. It's a very nice ending, but it is her last appearance in not just this book, but Secret Wars as a whole. The next book Elsa appears in would be in the main continuity. But she still has a Bloodstone hand.
Wait,
this shouldn't happen. All the storylines that happened on Battle World were unwritten and...
While Secret Wars did change some things about the multiverse, those things were either at the cosmological scale or directly because of a character's involvement in the main plot, which Elsa was not part of.
Restored more or less to normal when the multiverse was restructured. And yet, despite that, here's Elsa at the end of Battle World Zombies with a Bloodstone glowing in the center of her right palm, and here she is in the 2016 comic A-Force, where she still has that. This is completely unambiguous. There's no question that's what's going on. She explicitly refers to this as her Bloodstone hand, and now has gained the ability to shoot magic rays out of it, which is admittedly pretty cool.
This may be one of those things where they're like, this is a cool idea. It would be a real shame if we scrap this.
Plus, if you need more evidence, she doesn't wear the Bloodstone choker anymore. The source of her power has completely moved. Here's where things get extra weird. I could easily write this off, right? Secret Wars did change some things. It was sort of a retcon event, so if they wanted to use this book as a way to upgrade Elsa's powers and then just hand wave it away, okay, fine, whatever. Except, Elsa specifically references the events of Zombies Battle World.
Oh.
When asked by Nico Minoru how she lost her hand, Elsa simply replies, "My dad ripped off my first hand." That is what happened in Zombies Battle World. And there's never been another comic in which that happens. Plus, there's not really been an opportunity for it to happen. In every other continuity before and since...
I could have phrased this even more obviously. In every continuity we've seen, Elsa gets the stone because of her father's death, when it, or a piece of it, passes to her. So there's no chance for him to rip her hand off by definition. You know, that's honestly fair. Which means that, yeah, the only time that could have happened was in that whole shebang of the Secret Wars event. So I guess she maintained that. But once again, at least for me, I feel like they just thought this is a cool backstory for her, even though it's during this whole Secret Wars event where a lot of things are not supposed to be canon. We're just going to keep it that way.
This, Ulysses has been dead for a very long time. The only encounter Elsa has had with him is the zombie version on Battleworld, which by all accounts she should not be able to remember because that was reality warped out of history. When I first read this, I had to do a double take, but then I was quick to dismiss it as, yeah, that was just a continuity error. Kind of funny that they let something like that slide, but whatever. This is a cool status quo for her once again. I like Elsa having a magic laser hand, so I'm not going to nitpick it. I did, however, bring it up casually to some of my friends who are also big into comic books, and they proposed a theory. And what a rabbit hole that theory was. Since we are deep in the conspiracy weeds and I don't have anything better to do, let's go back to Next Wave.
Wait,
the
what?
Comic that, as I have mentioned a couple of times at this point, really established Elsa Bloodstone as the character she is today. We all know by now that Next Wave really just ignored previous canon, but there has since been an explanation for why that is the case. In Captain America and the Mighty Avengers, written by Al Ewing, I did like one video without mentioning him, but now he's back in the fold, Monica Rambeau is an important character, and she and several other Avengers are dealing with a Beyonder. If you've seen my cosmology video, then you know what the Beyonders are, but for anyone who doesn't, there are a lot of Beyonders, not just the iconic one, and they run the range in morality and predictability. This particular...
You know, I was going to say, that's what I immediately thought of when they talked about the Beyond Corporation, but I felt like considering it's questionable canon at the time during the video, I didn't really want to bring it up because it's like, it's probably just a joke or a jab at the Beyonders.
Beyonder, referred to as the Debaser Unit, was chaotic evil to say the least. What this comic does, admittedly very quickly, it's not a major plot point, but it does happen, is establish that Next Wave was canon, but it was canon because of a reality warp. The reason that canon was completely ignored in this comic in favor of weird, chaotic nonsense is that this world was the creation of this Debaser Beyonder. Basically, a chaotic evil god plucked 5 heroes that he liked out of the main universe, sent them into another universe where everything was weird and strange and didn't make sense, and then just watched what happened, presumably eating whatever the Beyonder equivalent of popcorn was. He tormented them in there for a year. And that's Next Wave. That is the canon of Next Wave.
Okay,
a bunch of main universe characters just get sent to this weird chaos hell. Was that the intent when Next Wave was written?
Probably
no, it
not.
absolutely wasn't, but it is a good way to explain the parody nonsense of it all. Here's where we pull out the Pepe Sylvia conspiracy board. It has been since established in a recent Monica Rambeau book that Monica is immune to reality warping.
Interesting. But anyways, I want to read the long explanation here. In the Monica Rambeau Photon series from 2023, Monica believes she's being teleported to different realities. This is not the case, though, and it's revealed that what she thought was teleporting was actually a series of reality warps caused by her powers going haywire. This warp is so strong that it attracts the attention of a Beyonder, a different one, who comes to observe what's going on. While the mechanical cause of this is never fully explained, it is stated that something about Monica specifically causes reality to fracture around her, rather than changing her as well. Vague as this is, it does confirm that Monica has some resistance to cosmic alteration. But she did not display this at the time of Next Wave. For any Steins Gate fans out there, it feels a little bit like Okabe's reading Steiner ability, but just like not fully understanding what was happening originally.
She has been thrown through so many chaotic events that she remains in her current state even when the world changes around her. That was a big focus of that storyline. The crackpot theory my friend Luna presented to me is that one of the reasons Monica Rambeau is immune to reality warping is because of the Next Wave incident. She had her whole life altered by Beyonder, and she was able to somehow escape it. And if that's the case, then it could extend to other members of Next Wave as well, like Elsa Bloodstone.
So that's why she remembers the whole Secret Wars thing?
This means that Elsa might just not change when the world around her does. When the world was altered into Battleworld, she kept her original history, which is why the Ulysses backstory about her getting abused is still canon. And then when her hand got ripped off, that persisted through the restructuring of the multiverse because that was a reality warp as well. So now she just has the Bloodstone hand in main continuity. Has any of this ever been explicitly stated?
Probably
no,
not.
Absolutely not. Elsa herself has...
Adding to this, or I guess just not going against it, is the fact that Next Wave characters have remained largely absent from reality warp events since. Boom Boom is not in Age of X-Man, for example. Also keep in mind that this would be very specifically only applied to the 616 variants, as they were the only ones to experience the Next Wave events. Gotcha. Also, is that supposed to say Age of X-Man or X-Men? I felt kind of weird reading that, but I'm like, okay, maybe it's the specific name.
Never brought anything like this up. However, I don't actually think that's a point against the theory, because if you've read comics with Elsa Bloodstone in them, you know it's very in character for her to just not care about this.
Yeah, that's
Elsa
fair.
Bloodstone is canonically forgetful, antisocial, and very focused on her work. So if she's immune to reality warping in some way, I genuinely don't think that would be a thing she'd bring up in casual conversation. Yeah. She would just take it in stride as, yeah, this is another one of my cool powers. Isn't that great? Let's go kill some monsters now. Now, being real for a second, do I think that this is actually the intent for Elsa?
No.
I mean, no. As things stand right now, it's absolutely not. Her keeping the Bloodstone hand, definitely just a continuity error that they never bothered fixing.
Yeah, it's a fun potential explanation for the mistake that they made, which is entirely within the realm of what Marvel authors already do by trying to go back and make some of the stuff that doesn't make sense somehow make sense. So, you know, we're just picking up the slack here.
But with the canon of Next Wave and how all that worked out, this is going to be my headcanon going forward. I think Elsa Bloodstone is immune to reality warping. Maybe that'll get its way into a comic at some point in the future, I don't know, but until it's proven otherwise, there's evidence, so I'm going to believe it. Okay, everyone, hold on for just a second. I'm cutting in very late in the production process here, which is why there's no music on this part, because as I was pulling my comic book panels for this video, I noticed something else, and you'll see why I had to stop and bring it up. In issue 3 of the 2024 comic Blood Hunters, Elsa and a bunch of other characters are affected by a reality warper. We don't know exactly what he's doing, it kind of looks like he's just hurting them, but this panel does explicitly say that he warps reality, so it is that in one way or another. I thought for a second that this was going to ruin the theory, because Elsa is clearly being harmed by the reality warper. But then I went to the next page, and what do you know? Guess which one of these multiple superheroes tanks the reality warp enough to disrupt the monster's attack? It's Elsa. She gets hit by this for one panel and then blasts him out of it.
Damn.
So now we do have solid on-page evidence of Elsa being decently resistant to reality warping, apparently more so than multiple magic characters, because Dagger and Hallows Eve are also on this page, and Elsa shakes it faster than they do. I still don't think that this is like the active intent from Marvel at an editorial level, but it is crazy that we have so much piling evidence for it. So the longer I work on this video, I am believing it more and more. Anyway, now back to your regularly scheduled programming. So now that tangent is done. It was a kind of long one, but one that I think was worth talking about because, wow, what a weird little mystery. Yeah. And fortunately, that allowed me to kill two birds with one stone. Kill two birds with one bloodstone, whatever, because I kind of also talked about her powers in that section. Just to lay it out plainly all at once, Elsa has a magic rock that enhances her physical capabilities, and now, after the Secret Wars nonsense, it is embedded directly in her hand so she can use it to shoot magical energy beams and also, on occasion, do other magical things as necessary. She has been shown using the Bloodstone to heal people, etc. What a journey it has been to
Elsa Bloodstone as a strategist someday? Could give her some sort of team up where she has a healing beam.
get to this point. I never thought this video was going to be as complicated as it ended up being when I started researching, but whatever, that's how it goes every single time. Fortunately for my sanity in explaining all this, as I continue back on Elsa's canon timeline, things are going to simplify. Since Secret Wars, Elsa Bloodstone has been a far better character. Now that she has backstory and motivation and actual conflict to her personality, she can be used in a lot more storylines as a more important figure.
Yes. I mean, it's everybody knows the importance of having a good foundation. With that good foundation, we can then build upon it in other stories, so we can use Elsa a lot easier. I wouldn't want to be the comic book artist who has to figure out how do we put this character with this jumbled up history into the story and make them interesting. I'm so glad that somebody else already did the job for me.
But her role within the Marvel Universe is much the same as it was. Elsa Bloodstone is still a monster hunter, and the vast majority of stories involving her are going to be ones where the heroes have to deal with monsters. But since Elsa has more of her own stuff going on, she does more than just pop in for an issue or two and has actually been a main character in several different comics. After A-Force, Elsa went on to be the mentor and sort of crisis response babysitter for Kei Kawade, otherwise known as Kid Kaiju, an 11-year-old boy who can summon any giant monster he wants just by drawing it.
Oh, yeah, this is a video that I've been meaning to check out, but I decided, I'll check out the Rivals roster first. Guess it's time to go there and see some added context.
I actually did a whole video on him on this channel already if you want to learn more about that very cool character. She was also briefly part of a Midnight Suns team during the Damnation event. This group was a bunch of psychopaths assembled by Wong to save Doctor Strange when he was kidnapped by Mephisto. And the roster was chosen specifically because Wong was looking for crazy people who wouldn't be too against throwing themselves into the line of fire for this.
Yeah,
Elsa was on that list. Probably her most significant appearance since Secret Wars was in the Deadpool run of 2019, colloquially known as King Deadpool, where Deadpool becomes the king of Staten Island. Oh, and also Staten Island is overrun by monsters. This book is a delight, even for me, who is not really a Deadpool guy.
I guess this is why she has the new team up with Deadpool. I mean, we did see a panel of her fighting Deadpool, it's what it seemed like before, so they've had interactions with each other.
Staten Island is taken over by a society of monsters who have laid some sort of claim to it, and Wade is hired to assassinate the monster's king. He does so, and then learns that by right of the monster ways, he becomes king since he has slain the old one. And so now, Deadpool rules over a society of monsters, which he doesn't really want to do, but also he likes being king because he's Deadpool, and as you can imagine, chaos ensues. Elsa becomes his sort of right-hand woman to keep the monsters in check, which leads to a bunch of great character moments for her, as the monsters of Staten Island don't actually want to go on rampages, they just want to lead regular lives in a society where they're not going to be tormented.
That's
so
fair.
Elsa has to confront whether she should kill all monsters or leave the ones that seem innocent alive. It's very good, and also, her and Deadpool have a very short-lived romance, though the comic cuts off before it really goes anywhere. For the Marvel Rivals fans watching, which I'm sure given the topic and the timing of it is a lot of you, King Deadpool is also one of the first comics to heavily feature Jeff the Landshark and is where a lot of his most iconic bits come from. So check this one out, you'll probably like it quite a bit.
Gotcha.
After King Deadpool, Elsa has continued bouncing around to fitting storylines within the Marvel Universe. She was part of the very cool Black Knight Curse of the Ebony Blade miniseries, and then the admittedly less cool Blood Hunters, which spun out of the vampire-centric Blood Hunt event. If you're picking one of these two to read, go with Black Knight. Bloodhunters is not very good, and Elsa is just kind of more murdery and violent than usual. It's really weird, but she does get a vampire cat in that one, so that's cute.
That's fun.
Now, the video's almost done, because Elsa, despite some of the early confusion, is a relatively simple character. But before we conclude, there is one more segment, I'll call it, that I have to cover. See, Elsa Bloodstone is not Ulysses Bloodstone's only kid. Elsa has two siblings, a brother and a sister, and both of them have their own weird magic going.
Whoa. We didn't see a single lick of them this entire time. What happened to them? Were they also trained to be hunters?
On and their own awful traumas at the hands of their father. Her younger brother is named Cullen Bloodstone, and he is a straight-up villain. Cullen was also trained by Ulysses, raised in the monster hunting ways, and in a similar training exercise to Elsa, on his 10th birthday, he was taken by his father to an alternate dimension called the Black Realm of Klimtor. As a rite of passage, so to speak, Ulysses then abandoned his son there to see if he could survive the night, and he planned on returning in the morning. And by pure coincidence, that night was when Ulysses was killed. This left Cullen Bloodstone trapped in this realm of monsters for over 2 years.
This poor kid, man. No wonder why he grew up to be a little fucked up. I mean, as a kid, losing your mom in the supermarket's already bad enough. Imagine being in this situation.
And since Ulysses had a habit of keeping all of his operations secret, he had told everyone else that he had sent Cullen to boarding school. So nobody looked for him, and he had to find his way out on his own.
No.
He was eventually able to return, but changed for the worse, both mentally and physically. Obviously, as is a pattern for the Bloodstone kids, he was extremely traumatized. But perhaps more importantly, he also had his soul forcibly bonded to a demon. Cullen was attacked by an other-dimensional entity called the Glartrox, and
I see. Man, it's such a satisfying ult to use if you're the one playing Elsa and you catch the entire enemy team. It's such a horrifying ult to hear when you're on the other side of the receiving end. So that's what this is. I see.
Entered into a symbiotic relationship with it. So now, Cullen transforms into the Glartrox whenever he is angry, and then just goes on a wild rampage.
So wait. When Elsa summons him, when Elsa ults, is she summoning her brother? I said earlier that I didn't know them. I haven't heard a single lick of them. Never mind. Apparently they were right in front of my eyes.
I do love this as a character beat. It's an obvious contrast, but one that works. They're both kids of a monster hunter, but Elsa became a monster hunter, and Cullen became a monster. He has not appeared in nearly as many comics as his sister, though. He first appeared in the Hunger Games-like Avengers Arena, and then scattered appearances here and there. More recently, though, he's actually...
In my last video, I also compared Avengers Arena to Hunger Games, and some people got unreasonably mad, because it's apparently based more on a movie called Battle Royale, a movie I had not heard of. I don't know every reference, especially non-comic ones. Don't be a dick. You know what? That is completely fair. I've had my fair share of very angry comments about that, but generally speaking, the majority of people are nice because I genuinely do not know what I'm talking about. And I acknowledge this. This is why we're here. This is why I'm trying to learn about it. But regardless of the fandom, you'll always have those mega fans who will be incredibly pissed if you are slightly less informed than they are. Hell, I've even had people send death threats to me because I didn't understand the meaning of a song. Which, I feel like that's kind of a jump in logic. But you know, the internet has crazy people everywhere. It is what it is. Oh, and by the way, if you're one of those nice people who leaves comments clarifying things or helping me clear misunderstandings that I may have had during a video, thank you for being you.
He's actually been cured of his possession by the Glartrox, and that is because of the third Bloodstone sibling.
So maybe we're not summoning Cullen then. Maybe it's just sort of a nod to that? I guess we'll find out here in a second.
The last kid was revealed in the Death of Doctor Strange event, in which I mean, I don't think I have to tell you what happens.
I
The
think
title
Strange
makes
dies
it pretty
here.
clear.
Yeah.
That event led to a bunch of Doctor Strange's protections and spells that were holding back weird magic things breaking down on his death. Counter to what the MCU says, a dead man's spell in the comics is not unbreakable, and they actually break pretty easily. One of these broken protections led to Elsa Bloodstone returning from her interdimensional exile. She is, by technicality, the oldest Bloodstone sibling, but she appears younger. The reason that she's older is because she was born 10,000 years ago in the early days of Ulysses Bloodstone's adventures. She worked with him a little bit more willingly than the other kids do, but Ulysses, ever practical, did not care, and ended up using his daughter as sacrificial material to bind an ancient god named Krakan the Jailer. By sending Lyra and another mystical crystal called the Null Gem into an outer dimensional void, Ulysses defeated Krakan at great cost, but he is not the type to care. This exile was then enforced by whoever held the role of Sorcerer Supreme, and so when that role was left vacant for long enough, Lyra returned to Earth, where she functions as an anti-magic character. The Null Gem she was exiled with is a counter to the Blood Gem, and can absorb magical energies into it, which she eats to sustain herself. I'm realizing this for the first time literally as I record these lines, but to anyone who's played Baldur's Gate 3, she's Gale. She's just Gale from BG3. She's
yeah, we're currently playing through Baldur's Gate 3 here on the channel as well, every Sunday. So, yep, I understand that.
Bonded to an ancient magic thing and has to consume magic to sustain herself. It's actually kind of wild how close the two are. Now, Lyra is not evil despite having a kind of destructive power. She's not heroic either. She seems to occupy a neutral space. And I say seems to because she has appeared in one comic, that being the Death of Doctor Strange tie-in in 2022, and has not been acknowledged since then, so I have no idea what she's doing. Now, with the siblings covered, we can get back to Elsa herself and wrap things up pretty quickly. It's not like Elsa isn't getting comics. Actually, she's having a great couple of years, being in more comics than I think she's ever been in before. Blood Hunters was just a couple of months ago. She was also a main character in the Werewolf by Night Red Band series, where she teamed up with Jack Russell again. Hell, she was in an X-Men comic 2 days before I recorded this. And then, of course, which is unsurprisingly the reason I'm making this video now, she is the newest character in Marvel Rivals. Now, I am releasing this video on the day she releases in-game, which means I have to record it in advance, and therefore I have not played her yet, and I don't know exactly what her abilities are going to be.
Incredibly busted. Well, on release. Still pretty strong right now. I lied, one more cut-in. This video is supposed to go out to my Patreon in like an hour, but all her lines and abilities were just revealed recently. I called most of what I needed to put in this video pretty well. But there's one more reference I need to cover because, wow. Elsa's trap ability references a monster named Diablo. This is the monster from Ulysses Bloodstone's second appearance from 1959. Diablo has only ever appeared in this one book and no others, so this is a deep cut. NetEase continues to impress me. They do their research even for small things like this. Yeah, I was wondering because I know that she summons the demon with the trap thing, but like we had never really gone around to that. I just put it in the quote-unquote magical powers that she has with the Bloodstone thing. But yeah, there you go.
I can say for sure, though, that I do love her design. They went with the more medieval style look. Not one that we've seen in the comics, but one that I think fits her vibe and the Rivals aesthetic.
She does look cool.
I was really surprised, pleasantly so, when I saw Elsa get announced for the Rivals roster. I never thought we would see her in something more mainstream like that. I mean, yeah, sure, she has technically been in the MCU, but only in the Werewolf by Night special presentation, which, not knocking that at all, it's very good, very B-movie themed and stylized, but definitely for the MCU, the least mainstream that it goes. Her inclusion in the game will likely lead to a boost in popularity, though, and that will likely lead to more comic appearances for her. And while I can't be sure exactly what they're going to be, I have a pretty good idea. They're probably going to be about Elsa Bloodstone fighting monsters. Because that's the thing about Elsa Bloodstone at the end of the day. She is a simple character. Yes, I went on the whole weird multiverse continuity tangent in the middle of this video, but that's because that is very specifically my job. I'm the guy who's supposed to dig up all the weirdness. If you just want to appreciate Elsa Bloodstone, you can appreciate her as a monster hunter, and that's all you need to do. Elsa Bloodstone is an extremely British, tea-loving, swear-slinging monster hunter with a billion guns and a cool magic rock. And if you've read one comic with her and gotten a sense of her vibe, you basically have a sense of her vibe in everything. In a complicated, interconnected universe like Marvel, where popular characters have become so many different things over the decades, it's kind of refreshing to see Elsa be so consistent in her characterization. Even if the nature of her origin changes, you know exactly what vibe a comic is going to have when Elsa Bloodstone shows up.
Yeah. Origin was kind of a mess, but we kind of made it work somehow, which was a nice thing. Like, I'm sure that there are many cases where this has happened and it didn't go so well. But regardless, the character is fun and the readers appreciate it, so we hit the nail on the head with it.
She is a monster hunter, she hunts monsters, and that's all you need. Does this simplicity make her a bad character? No, not at all. She provides an excellent contrast. Like I said right in the intro of this video, sometimes there's not a mastermind or a complicated evil plan. Sometimes the problem is a big monster and you need somebody to shoot it. Elsa is the one you call to get that done. No more, but no less, and that makes her pretty cool. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, I do hope you enjoyed. Again, I am having to record this video before Elsa comes out in the game to get it out on time, so I can't say for sure how this version is going to stack up with the comics one, but NetEase is also very, very good about respecting the source material in their adaptations, so I bet she'll be close enough for this video to be relevant.
Not gonna lie, I kind of wish I could see his reaction to using Elsa's ultimate.
Quick announcements and plugs and the like, I have a Patreon. If you go and check that out, you can find early and ad-free access to all of my videos, as well as an exclusive video every month. My username there is the exact same as it is here. There's also a link to that in the video description and on my channel page. It's very easy to find. An extra double thank you to everyone who already supports me over there. It really does help me keep making these videos for you guys. Shout out also to Ruben Perez, the artist I work with on these videos. He drew the character you've been watching talk at you for the last 45 minutes or so. Go check out his work if you have a chance. And personally, now that I'm done with this video, I'm just gonna sit back and patiently wait to see if Marvel canonizes my friends and I's wild theory about Elsa being immune to reality warping. It would be crazy, but you can have that one for free, Marvel. I do think it is on brand for her.
Yeah, I agree. Alright, man, I'm so glad I did this video. It provides so much extra context to the character, plus it makes me appreciate a lot of the moves, a lot of the choices that NetEase made for her design. I might check out the White Fox video here real soon, so look out for that one. Regardless, thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed your time here, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later, dudes.